gonna be a story time of how me and my friends waged war on the nastiest girls at my high school. After watching all of the parts, you get to decide who won this war. And just a heads up, this will probably be the nastiest story time that I've ever posted. Let's get right into it. So at my high school, there was these group of girls that would keep themselves dirty so they could get attention from the boys. They would never take showers. They would always come to school stankin'. It was so bad to the point where if you were in class with them, the teachers would have to open up all the windows and leave the door wide open so the smell could drift out. Like, it was that bad. You really could have passed out. The school went as far as holding an assembly about how important hygiene is, just because of these girls. Now, these girls stayed together as a clique, and they were on the track team, and me and my friends were also on the track team. Our coach encouraged us to take showers after practice, but she couldn't force us. But she made it clear that she wanted us to take showers. Those girls wouldn't take full-on showers. They just get in the water for like 5 seconds and get out. So one day, me and my friends decided that all those girls were in the shower, we were going to pour soap and shampoo all over them, like for part 2. This is gonna be part 2 of how me and my friends waged war on the nastiest girls at our high school. As you can imagine, track practice sucked because of how bad they smelled. And mind you, they barely contributed to the track team. There were those girls that always pretended like they had an injury so they didn't have to practice. It was embarrassing, like, why are you here? And so after practice, while they were taking their 10-second showers, me and my friends took bottles of soap and shampoo and poured it all over them. This made them like cuss us out. They were extremely angry, but they didn't do anything. So some time passes by, and one of my friends had told me that her boyfriend had gave her an STD. So she's thinking, he didn't have this STD before, and all of a sudden he has one. So where did he get it from? Then all of a sudden, next thing you know, one of those stankin' wankin' girls that we poured soap and shampoo all over starts posting on her story, and she says, and I quote, "You say I'm dirty, but your boyfriend doesn't think any less of me, so what does that make you?" Eventually, my friend's boyfriend admitted to her that he had cheated on her with one of those girls. And it wasn't just the two of them. It was all those girls, my friend's boyfriend, and some of his friends. It was like a fivesome. This is gonna be part 3 of how me and my friends waged war on the nastiest girls at our high school. So like I said, those girls that never took showers had gotten a train ran on them by one of my friend's boyfriend and some of his friends. This pissed my friend off so bad, she was acting out of character. And I say out of character, I'm talking about this girl was saying, "Oh, I'm gonna poison her. I'm gonna run this bitch over." At the time, it seemed excessive, but just wait until you hear the whole story and you'll understand why it would have been justified. So my friend had asked her, her ex-boyfriend, why he did what he did. He said that they didn't smell bad at the time and it was just spur of the moment. But he knew that his own girlfriend did not like those girls. My friend would talk shit about those girls to him. And it's the fact that he still had the audacity to put his dingling in my friend after he had ran a train on those girls. Like, that's disrespectful. And so to get back at these girls, my friend decided that she was going to stay in the locker room for track practice after all the girls left the locker room. And she took a piss on all of those girls' clothes. This led to one of the girls getting a rash that got really bad to the point where she had to be hospitalized. Trust me, you're gonna want to like for part 4. So this is gonna be part 4 of the time my friends and I waged war on the nastiest girls at our high school. So after my friend had pissed on those girls' clothes for giving her an STD, one of the girls got a really bad rash for wearing those clothes and had to be hospitalized. Now, I would have said that my friend went too far if it wasn't for this. So my track team ended up going on a camping trip, and the coach told those girls specifically that if they wanted to go on the camping trip, that they were gonna have to be hygienic. They were gonna have to take full-on showers. They were gonna have to brush their teeth. They're gonna have to bring a change of clothes. And me and my friends had hoped that they weren't going to come on this camping trip so we could have our fun. But they actually agreed to being hygienic, and so they came on the camping trip. I'm still taken aback at the events that happened on this camping trip. So we're on the camping trip. We're like the 3rd day in. We sat around the campfire and made s'mores, and then we all went to sleep in our tents. Me and my friends, we all shared a tent. All my friends were asleep, but I wasn't asleep yet. I was still drifting asleep. And then I heard somebody open our tent. It was kind of dark, but I could still make out who it was, and it was one of those girls me and my friends were beefing with. She gets to where my friend is sleeping and squats down, and she takes a shit right on my friend. This is gonna be part 5 of the time my friends and I waged war on the nastiest girls at our high school. Like I said, we're on a camping trip, and my friends and I are all sleeping in a tent. One of those girls we're beefing with comes into the tent, squats down on one of my friend's faces, and takes a shit right on her face. Mind you, she thought that I was sleeping, so once I screamed at her, like, "What the fuck are you doing?" she gets up and runs out of the tent. This girl is butt ass naked, okay? My friend eventually wakes up and she's smacking her lips like, "What is that taste?" And I'm telling her, like, do not swallow. Whatever you do not swallow. And I'm like, "Girl, it's just some chocolate from the s'mores we made earlier." I was trying to get her not to freak out because she was going to mollywop Miss Butt Naked Nasty. She eventually figures out what it is, and she's like, "Is this some type of sick joke?" And so I'm telling her, "No, bitch, who the fuck do you think I am?" So I run out the tent, and then I see one of those girls, like, fast walking towards the woods, and she's looking behind her, and then she sees me. So I start running after her, and she starts dashing through the woods. I'm cussing her out like, "Bitch, you're fucking nasty. Fuck is wrong with you?" Eventually, our coaches hear the noise, and they wake up like for part 6. This is gonna be part 6 of the time my friends and I waged war on the nastiest girls at our high school. Like I said, after I'm chasing this girl for taking a shit on my friend's face, I'm cussing her out, running behind her. Eventually, I lose her in the woods, and I have to walk back to where we were camping. Our coaches had woken up at that point, and they were talking to my friend who had shit all over her face. She was telling them, like, "I don't even know what's going on." And so once they saw me, they were asking me, like, "What's happening?" And I'm basically telling them everything that happened. And so the coaches start looking for this girl. Eventually, they find her butt naked somewhere. They call that girl's parents and then my friend's parents to let them know what had happened. And my friend's mom decided that she did not want my friend on the camping trip anymore. So they cut the camping trip short, and for the rest of the time, they kept that girl and my friend separated. Just so you guys know, me and my friends could not beat up those girls because we were athletic academic scholars, bitch. They are not worth it. But once we went to school again, the school ended up expelling all of those girls. And it's because my friend's complaint about them was kind of the last straw. They had so many complaints about their hygiene, how dirty they were, so the school was just kind of like, "Okay, we're done with y'all." That was the end of it. Who do y'all think won this war? This is the story of how I lost my virginity at my college campus. And it was one of my professors that took my virginity. And this professor had a wife. Let's get right into it. This happened my freshman year in college, okay? A bitch just got there. If I'm being 100% honest, I never wanted to do the nasty because I was trying to save it for somebody special. After I graduated, baby, it was time for me to act up. And I most definitely acted up. Shit. So freshman year of college comes around. The first day of school, and I walk into English class. See this fine, sexy, tall glass of water. See this man sitting at this desk in front of the classroom. This man was Liam Hemsworth on crack. Class starts and he introduces himself as the professor. Like, really? I wanted this man to rail me. Anyways, as time went on, this professor and I began to become really close. Maybe a little too close. He would ask me to stay after class and we would literally just talk. It became a regular thing. We got so close that we exchanged phone numbers. So close to the point where one night he called me and invited me to his house. He said we were getting along really well and that he never did this to any of his other students, but since me and him created such a special bond that I was an exception. So I was like, you're fine ass, sir, I will speed. Let me grab my keys. He gives me the address, I show up and he lets me in. We sit down and we just start talking about anything. He shows me around his house eventually. As he's showing me around his house, we get to some pictures on the wall. That's when I found out that he had a wife. Immediately no. Nothing else happened and I made an excuse to go home. He texts me and says that it sucks that I had to go home. He wishes we could have spent more time together. I told him that was most likely the last time we were going to spend together since he had a wife. Because I did give a fuck at the moment. But things changed. Finding out he was married made me so uncomfortable that I stopped answering his calls and I stopped replying to his texts. I also skipped that class for a little bit because I just felt so awkward. One day the professor sent out an email saying that there was a mandatory meeting after school. I go to that meeting, but when I show up, me and my professor are the only people there. Like I said, me and my professor started taking pictures and taking videos whenever we would hook up. That would lead to our downfall. Mind you, he was the one who asked to start taking those pictures and recording those videos because he wanted it for when I wasn't around. We were doing all this and we were still walking by each other in class like nothing happened. Well, one day I'm sitting in his class as usual. Just a normal regular day. I never would have thought anything like this would have happened. But I guess it's my karma. We're sitting in class and we're learning about whatever the hell. We were going over some notes that a student had asked to go over because they didn't understand, but the professor was having a hard time trying to pull up these notes. His computer screen was connected to the big screen that all the students could see. I don't know what it's called, a smart board? Some electronic screen. It's a projector. I googled it. His computer screen is on the projector and he's opening up a bunch of documents and files. The next thing you know, he clicks a file and all the pictures and videos of me and the professor naked together shows up on the screen in front of everyone. I'm sitting there like, I don't know who that is. That ain't me. It might look like me, but it ain't me. The entire class gasped all at once. It was like a harmony. And some students who sat next to me started to look at me. Like I said, I don't know who that girl that looks exactly like me on the screen is. I don't know who she is. Don't associate me with her. I don't know her. The professor's face goes red. He was frantically trying to take it off the screen. Like, it's too late. I put my hoodie up and I didn't know if I should leave the classroom or just stay in the classroom because not everybody realized that it was me. Like some people in college don't pay attention to who's in their class. The people that sat next to me knew that it was me. I didn't know if I should have stayed in class or if I should have left the classroom because if I left the classroom it would have looked guilty, but if I stayed in there it was just awkward. I decided to stay to avoid looking guilty. Once class was over and I went home, the entire school knew about me and the professor. Everybody at school was talking about it. What's worse is that somebody took a picture of the screen. That was evidence and someone said that to his wife. A lot of people were asking me about what happened, but I didn't tell them anything because I didn't have any friends at that school and nobody deserved to know my business. I had not been in contact with the professor ever since. He had blocked my number and I tried to email him, but he wasn't answering my emails. He also stopped holding class the day after that happened. But one day he did email me back. He said from there on out to stop contacting him, and so I did. The school kind of swept everything under the rug. He did in fact get fired. The school said that if anybody reposted that picture of the screen, they would get expelled. I dropped out of college. It was definitely not worth it. So here's just a little reminder to never sleep with your college professor. This is why it's better to have one friend that you hang out with regularly instead of having a big group of friends. And trust me, you're going to want to listen to this story time. So when I was a sophomore in high school, I was kind of going through an identity crisis and low-key still am. I went to a predominantly white school for the majority of my life. So let's just say I was extremely whitewashed. It was one of those times in my life where if a white person said the N-word around me, I would just laugh. Not because I didn't know it was wrong, but because I wanted to be accepted and I wanted to be like everybody else and I seeked validation. Sophomore year was really when I started to become who I am today. I wanted to learn way more about my culture and my background. So I started becoming friends with people from other schools that are more diverse. Eventually, I met this group of girls. And I thought these girls were going to be the sweetest girls I would ever meet. Now this friend group was serving flavor. I'm talking diverse to the T. One night, we decided that we were going to spend the night at one of the girls' houses. Let's call this girl Sally. I kept getting lost on the way to Sally's house, and I thought it was because I didn't know the area that well. Keep in mind, that's what I thought was the reason. I get there and we watch like 4 or 5 movies before I end up falling asleep. And when I wake up, I was in a room full of grown-ass men staring at me. When I arrived, the men were already there. Mind you, we were in sophomore year. These men looked like they were in college. So I was already a little thrown off, but I trusted it because I was with my friend. But when I wake up, these men are like staring at me. But they try to look away really fast, but I could tell that they were staring at me. I start thinking the worst of the worst. I try to think of any possible way that I could get out of there, whether it was physically or mentally. So I pretend to fall asleep just to escape the reality of it. But then one of the men at the bottom of the bed starts rubbing my feet. I immediately kick my leg so I can get his hands off. Now I'm thinking he's gonna be mad and I'm gonna get fucking attacked. So I try to make small talk to loosen the tension. So I look at the guys and I'm like, hey, do you know where the girls went? One of them looks at me and says, oh, they went home. So I'm like, I thought this was Sally's house. And they say nothing. So at this point, I think I'm being set up. I try my best to not make it seem like I'm suspicious of them. I casually act like I need to pee. Walk into the bathroom and I see a window. Automatically something clicks in my mind, get the fuck out of there. I'm thinking to myself, I would be so dumb. I would be so extremely incredibly stupid to go back into that room full of grown ass men that I've never met before, instead of making my escape through that window right here, right now. So I trusted my gut and I got the fuck out of there. Mind you, I'm in my PJs right now. No shoes, no socks. I'm making my great escape. Call me Pablo Escobar. While I was doing all of it, I was in disbelief. Like, I cannot believe that I'm escaping like right now. Like, this is actually insane. Like, I did what I believed was right at the moment. And honestly, that decision might be the reason why I'm alive right now. So I make a run for it. I immediately run to the front of the neighborhood. I hide behind some trees and then I call my sister. I call my sister instead of my parents because my mom was the one who drove me there. And if she knew that something bad happened, she wouldn't have let me go out again. I'm frantically explaining everything on the phone to my sister. She literally speeds to come get me. Once she gets there, I immediately hop in her car and we get the fuck out of there. On our way home, I get a text from Sally. Hey girl, where are you? We went to the gas station to get some milkshakes. You could have came with, but you were already asleep. I didn't even respond. I just blocked all of them because I know damn well that they were not getting milkshakes. Because one, why didn't they wake me up to get milkshakes? Because I wasn't the first person to fall asleep. I'd never fall asleep first at somebody's house with a big group of people. I saw somebody else who looked like they were sleeping, so I thought that I was going to fall asleep too. Two, why were all those grown-ass men there? Nobody told me that they were going to be there. Like I said, we were sophomores. These men were in college. Maybe even graduated from college. They were grown. Three, why would she lie about it being her house? Four, why did the boy say she went home? I remember when I said I kept getting lost because I didn't know the area. Once I went back to look through the messages that I had with those girls to see if there was anything fishy going on, I noticed that they were all sending me different addresses. Either one number would be off or a letter would be off. They definitely were planning something because they were trying to get me there late. I haven't seen or talked to those girls since then. Okay, quick story time since I still have my makeup on. Let me tell you about this old lady that tried to fight me at Walmart. PSA to this old lady, if you're watching this, you could still get slapped any day. I don't like you and I'm willing to fight still. Waiting for you to try it the second time. Anyways, let's get into it. I was at Walmart with my sister because I go everywhere with my sister. We were just looking for a hair accessory. Because you know at Walmart sometimes they have those hidden gem items that you probably never thought would be there, but they're there and it's really cheap. So we go there to look for some cute hair accessories. I would just like to clarify that this old lady was white and I had a blonde wig on. Yeah, this old lady pulls up on us and she's like, one thing about me is I hate when people stare at me. What are you staring at? You need help? Hey, if you want to suck a little pussy, just fight it. Anyways, you know what I mean? Like, it's just mad judgmental. I feel like people are judging me. So I'm like, can I help you? Because can I touch your hair? Obviously, I say no because who is this old white lady trying to touch me? Don't know you, don't know where you've been. Like, stay away. 6 feet. I don't know what it is about the people that live around me being so bold. I say no, you cannot touch my hair, and she reaches her old wrinkly hands. Next thing you know, she's tugging on my hair. Part 2 right now. The time an old lady tried to fight me at Walmart, part 2. So I thought that she was just gonna feel my hair. No, she takes her hand and starts tugging. And I'm like, what the fuck is this bitch doing? She's tugging on my hair. I'm like, can you like not fucking touch me? So like I move my head so then she can like let go. And she goes, fake. My sister steps in and she's like, you're not about to touch my sister like that. And you're not about to come up to us as an old white lady and pull her hair so you can see if it's fake or not. She's like, that's the problem these days. You black people don't know how to love yourself. This lady was looking for a fight. I was ready to fight. Something about me and my sister, we do not let nobody disrespect us. You're old, black, white, short, 4-year-old, we will get on your ass. So we like, hold on. You're not about to walk up to us and disrespect us, our space and our bow and our privacy. You're not about to come up to us and try to pick an argument with us. Old as she is, I'm surprised she didn't have a heart attack. There was a worker really close by, so they came and was like, okay, what's going on? I was like, before I put this old white lady in her grave, her have an early funeral, you better get her. As she was walking away, she was saying all types of racial slurs. Me and my sister did not give one fuck and went about our day. Period. Story time at the time I dated a married man and his wife walked in on us. Mind you, I am 17, child. Promise it will all make sense in the end, just keep watching. This literally happened in June. I turned 17 in May. I had just turned 17. Just makes everything worse. Let's just get into it. So at this time, my TikTok page was like plummeting. It was after I exposed my race at school and I started getting all those death threats. I basically had to stay off TikTok for a while and social media in general. So I wasn't really getting a lot of notice from anyone. But one day I noticed that this guy was liking all of my videos. Let me tell you, this man. Fine. This man was extra fine. So I was like, let me go ahead and shoot my shot. Honestly, if anyone were to blow up my notice like that, I'd probably follow them anyway. So I followed him. Worst mistake of my life. The thing though is he only had a profile picture, but he did have a video. In the video, he was using a filter, so his face was covered up, but his hair and his bone structure matched his profile picture. So I was like, okay, this is him. I'm not gonna get catfish. Everything is good. Right? Anyway, so he DMs me on TikTok. He gives me his number. Text him and we start talking. He tells me that he's 19. Wait until you find out his actual age. So yeah, he tells me that he's 19. I'm 17, so I was thinking it's only 2 years and we're both at a very mature age. I was like, okay, that's fine. So we start talking more and we click like this. I really thought that I found the one for me. We had the same personality, same humor. We were interested in the same things. I had been single for 17 years, so I was excited. We keep talking and we plan to hang out one day. He said he wanted to take me on a little date or whatever. I was like, free food. Say fuck the layers. So he comes to pick me up and we go out to a restaurant. Everything's good. I go home. Everything's fine. After that, we plan to hang out again and we go on another date. Everything's good. Everything's fine. Get home safely and I think everything's going good. But things start to get a little weird because the more as time went on, the more we would text and the more we would call. He started to randomly hang up when we were on FaceTime, or he would randomly put me on mute, or he would talk really quiet. I would ask him like why he was doing that and he would say, oh, my phone is glitching. Me being a dumb bitch, I believed it. I was like, you know what? All men aren't trash. Let me give him a chance. We continued to hang out. We hang out like 4 or 5 times until the night his wife came home. Okay, so since everything's going good, we continue to go on dates. We go on 3 or 4 dates and the last time we hung out was at his house. I was kind of confused on how he had a house at 19, but he said that he had a family business that he invested in. That's how he made his money, so he basically had his life set up for him. So I'm thinking, child, oh, he got money. He's cute. He has a nice personality. He's sweet. Like, what could go wrong? Here's what went wrong. So like I said, the last time we hung out was at his house. We're at his house, everything's good. We're watching a movie and a knock on the door. It's like, okay, it's probably just like, I don't know, a delivery. He's gonna tell me, go in that room. Like trying to rush me, like, go in that room, go in that room. Obviously something fishy is going on here if he's trying to rush me to hide. So I'm like, what's going on? His wife, who was the one who was knocking on the door, heard my voice and starts yelling. So now I'm like, what did I just get myself into? I am not trying to fight nobody today. I'm definitely not gonna fight over no boy. So I'm just looking at him like, you got some explaining to do. So he goes and opens the door for his wife. And this is what happened. I am not about to get beat up. I have to defend myself. Because we all know those girls that get mad at the girl that their boyfriend cheats on them with instead of getting mad at the boyfriend. So I had to prepare myself. I put my shoes on. I had some rings in my purse. I put those on. I was ready to fight thinking I was going to get attacked. So I had to defend myself. Yeah, so he goes to open the door for his wife. She walks in and stares dead at me. And I'm just like the most awkwardest thing ever. She looks at him and screams, you have kids! At that point, I was ready to go because I know I just got catfished. She starts going off on him and I have really bad anxiety, so I zone out. And she looks at me and she goes, who the hell are you? I snap back and I'm like, I'm 17. I don't know what's going on. I don't want any part of this. I was so fucking scared. I just wanted to get out of there. It's like, I did not know. I will leave right now. So I left. I called a friend to come get me because he's the one who drove me to his house. I don't know his exact age, but he's around 30 years old. This means I had just turned 17. I was going on dates and hanging out with a man who was damn near 30 years old. The whole entire time, I was thinking that he was 19. I guess nowadays you really cannot tell people's age. Someone could be 16 looking 25. It could be damn near 30 looking 19. The most disgusting part of all of this is the fact that the whole entire time, he knew that I was 17. Story time about my touchy English teacher. And no, he did not get fired. He still works at that same school till this day. Let's get into it. This happened when I was a senior in high school, literally last year. His class was the new English class that I switched to because my other English teacher wasn't teaching me shit. So I went to the office and asked if I could switch my classes, and they said yes. But only if I was willing to drop honors English and do regular English. And I also would have to be in a freshman class. I was honestly willing to do whatever to get out the class, so I was like, sure. And now I honestly wish I didn't because of this. So it first started off with him being super, super nice to me, which is kind of weird because I never really talked to him before. He made me like a class leader just because I was older. And every single time I walked into his classroom, he would try to talk to me. Like, not even about school, literally about anything. I didn't think that was weird. I was guessing he talked to me so much because I was older and we could relate on more stuff. This is when things started taking a turn for the worse. During tests or quizzes, he would walk around the classroom and he would always make his way back to me just so he could rub my shoulders. Or he would run his fingers through my hair. That was the biggest red flag. Then he asked me to stay after school for extra credit. I never had him as a teacher before, not even freshman year. I moved to that school when I was a sophomore. They told me that he was known to be creepy and that so many girls have complained about him making them uncomfortable. But they were just rumors, so I didn't think that much of it. Till that man started rubbing my shoulders in class. And it's the fact that he rubbed my shoulders and nobody else's. I was not 18, I was still 17 years old. I just started senior year. Back to the story. So he asked me to stay after school for extra credit. He said he wanted me to help him set up a project for his students, and he doesn't know what young kids like, and apparently every freshman in his class had something to do after school, so I had to do it. But since he said he would give me extra credit, I was like, okay, sure. And I definitely didn't think that this would happen. So my last class was forensics, so after school I went to his classroom. He didn't have any supplies out or anything, so I was like, what project? He tells me to reach on top of a shelf behind his desk. He was literally sitting at his desk. He could have done it himself. I was like, okay, but as soon as I reach up on that shelf, he gets up and grabs my ass. So like I said, he asked me to get something off of the shelf behind his desk while he was sitting at his desk, and as soon as I go up to grab it, he grabs my ass. He literally stood up to grab it. And then I spun around and started looking at him crazy. Well, after he grabbed my butt, he kept walking as if his arm just brushed up against my ass. And he looked back at me and he was like, is everything okay? Like, okay, so we're just gonna act like he didn't just do what he just did. But I just looked at him and I was like, everything's okay. I told him that I had just gotten a text from my mom and an emergency happened, so I had to go home. But instead of going home, I went to a friend's house, and it was the same friend who told me all the rumors of that teacher being a creep. I went to a friend's house instead of going straight home because I was crying really hard and I didn't want my parents to be concerned, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to tell them what happened or not. I was only crying because I felt super uncomfortable and I didn't know what else to do. When I got to my friend's house, she told me that she would go to the office with me at school the next day. So the next day came and we went to the office. Well, this is what they said when we told them what happened. Okay, so my friend and me went to the office to tell the principal what happened, and he was acting really concerned and everything until I told him which teacher it was. Then he was like, oh, yeah, we get complaints about him all the time. And I was like, so are you going to do something about it? Why haven't you done something about it already? And he goes, well, a lot of students will make up things about a teacher they don't like just so they can get them in trouble. I'm not saying you're making it up. Of course, we're gonna have to look into it. Well, I told him that I wasn't comfortable in that class anymore and I wanted to go back to my honors English class. And he let me switch back. Well, after like 5 months, I still never heard anything from my principal. And I didn't know what better to do but move on with my life. I still saw him in the hallway sometimes and it was just really, really awkward. And he would smile at me as if what happened didn't happen. They basically just let him get away with it because multiple girls have complained about him before, but they didn't have any proof against him. Since there was no proof, they didn't do anything. But I feel like if it was multiple girls, something should have been done. But that's just me. Story time about why my lunch lady always hated me in high school. Never thought this would happen to me. The story takes the biggest turn at the end. Okay, so it first started off as just my lunch lady eyeing me weird. Whenever I would enter the cafeteria or whenever I would pay for my food, she would always give me the weirdest look. And then sometimes she wouldn't even let me get lunch. She would say, oh, you don't have enough money on your account. When I knew the day before I just put money in. So then I wouldn't be able to eat lunch. I reported her a couple times. Mind you, my mom works at the school. I even told my mom about it. She would just lie and be like, I never said she couldn't get her food. Mom told me that if she ever refused to let me get food again, to just come up to her classroom and then she'll give me something to eat. But I was so confused because my mom works at the school and I expected her to talk to administration about how the lunch lady is treating her daughter. But she didn't say anything to administration until one day. This time I actually didn't have any money on my account and I did not know. I went to go get my lunch as usual. When I go to check out my food, the lunch lady throws her hands up, knocks my plate out of my hand. She says I'm just like my mom because we're both greedy. And I had no idea what she meant. Said she meant to throw her hands up. She didn't mean to knock over my plate. Everyone was looking at us and it was so awkward, so I just walked away. And I didn't even sit down for lunch. I just walked out of the cafeteria and went straight to my mom's classroom. I had no idea what the lunch lady was talking about. My mom doesn't even talk to her. Or at least I thought she didn't. So like I said, I was on the way to my mom's classroom after the lunch lady yelled at me in front of the whole entire cafeteria. And once I got to my mom's classroom, I told her exactly what happened. She was in the middle of class. When I tell you my mom stormed out of her class, went straight to the cafeteria, pulled up on the lunch lady in front of everybody, and she grabs her by her hair. The lunch lady tried to grab to the cash register. The cash register fell and money went everywhere. All you could hear was the coins dropping on the floor like chink chink. She was so close to jumping in, but my mom had her. Other teachers had to come into the cafeteria to break them up. They immediately fired my mom, obviously. My mom said, forget this, forget y'all, and she took me and we both went home. Well, on the way home, she told me the beef with the lunch lady. So apparently the lunch lady had been flirting with the history teacher, and my mom and the history teacher were seeing each other on the low. My mom was married, so I was like, so what about dad? She said that my dad just didn't make her happy anymore. But the problem with the lunch lady was the fact that all the teachers at my school are messy as fuck. They all talk shit about each other. They're always talking about another teacher. And so basically all the staff knew, just because of rumors and gossip, that my mom and the history teacher were kind of seeing each other. Everyone knew, including the lunch lady. So once the lunch lady started flirting with the history teacher too, they low-key started having tension with each other. But it was unnecessary for the lunch lady to take out her anger on me, so that's why she whooped her ass. By the way, this happened when I was in high school. I have now graduated out of college, and my parents are divorced now, so. This is a story time of why I dropped out of high school on my first day. And when I say my first day, I mean my first day of freshman year. After this, I never went back. So like I said, it was the first day of freshman year and I have extreme anxiety. My anxiety is literally so bad. I literally get anxiety just by waking up in the morning. So I was super anxious for my first day of high school. I literally was running around the school. I could not find my classes. I walked into the wrong classroom several times. It was so embarrassing. But then I finally made it to my first class. I sat down in the front of the classroom. Bad idea. After running around the school and not being able to find my classes and walking into different classes I wasn't supposed to be in, which was so embarrassing, my stomach was literally in my ass. My stomach was literally bubbling because of my anxiety. I felt so much pressure in my stomach, I needed to let some out. And I thought I could get away with it, a little silent fart. It was silent, but it was not a fart. I shit my pants. Then the teacher says we're gonna go around the classroom and everyone has to stand up and say one thing about ourselves, starting with me since I was sitting at the front. So I just told her I didn't feel comfortable standing up and I'd rather sit down, but she said that I had to stand up and everybody has to stand up. So I clearly did not have many options and I decided that I was gonna stand up. And so I stood up and everybody gasped, even the teacher. The teacher literally made everybody get out of the classroom, and I knew from there on out I could not show my face in that school anymore. I knew all day everyone was going to talk about that one kid that shit themselves in class. Yeah, the teacher took everyone out of the class, and then I got myself cleaned up. Went to the office, told them what happened. They called my mom. They let me go home. I cried to my mom and told her I could not show my face at that school anymore. And so she pulled me out of high school, and I just did online until I graduated. This is why you shouldn't let just anybody around your kids. Wear a mask while you watch this story time. I promise you're gonna want to. So when I was around 15 years old, I started doing really bad in school. My parents were really poor and my dream was to go to college, so I needed to work my ass off so I could get a scholarship. But with how my grades were looking, it did not seem like I was gonna get one. My school offered after school tutoring classes, so I started taking them. And just in case I didn't get that scholarship, my parents started working late hours so they could pay for my college. They also hired a part-time babysitter / housekeeper. Mind you, my parents worked all day until super late at night. Her job was to arrive after we all left to clean up the messes that we didn't have time to clean up in the morning or the night before. Then she was supposed to pick me up from my tutoring classes, stay at the house and watch me until my bedtime, which was about 9 p.m. Then she was supposed to leave. But one day we were sitting at the kitchen table eating breakfast and we all catch a drift of this terrible smell. My dad finds out that the smell is coming from the basement. As soon as you open the door, the smell just hits you in the face. We all go down there to check where the smell's coming from. We see a pile of human feces. Laying next to it is my babysitter. My parents wake her up and everyone's covering their mouth and nose with our shirt. I'll go upstairs because the smell. I let my parents deal with that shit. Literally. I hear my dad yelling at her and telling her to get out. She explains that she used to be a full-time nanny and she has nowhere else to go because they kicked her out. If she was shitting on the floor, who the fuck wouldn't kick her out? She says she did that because she gets really bad anxiety at night and can't go upstairs or we would hear her and wake up. Because you have anxiety does not give you the right to shit on the floor. I have anxiety. Do you see me shitting on the floor? So my parents kick her out anyways, like any reasonable person would. And we thought that was the last that we were gonna see of her. But one night at like 2 a.m. in the morning, I hear a tapping on my window. So I wake up and there's my babysitter staring at me through my window. She looks sad and she like motions for me to let her in. I'm looking at her like, the fuck no? And so that sadness quickly turns to anger and she starts banging on my window at 2 a.m. in the morning. And so I quickly go to get my parents because what if she breaks that shit and breaks in? Once I leave my room, I hear the banging stop, but I still go to tell my parents what just happened. My dad calls the police and they check around the area and she's nowhere to be found. The smell goes away, we don't see her anymore, so we think everything's good now. But one day my mom texts me and tells me that she left me a tray of cookies on the dining table for when I get back from tutoring. Well, I didn't see any cookies or a tray. When my mom gets home, she wakes me up and asks me where I put the tray. I told her that I didn't even see the tray of cookies. So my mom tries looking for the tray because she needs it for when she cooks. She never finds it. Mind you, my family like never goes to our basement. But one day my dad needs some tools to help fix his buddy's car. He also notices that the tray we were looking for is in the basement. We're all freaked out at this point because our babysitter was secretly living in our house. Now things are going missing and being misplaced. And after looking around for any suspicion that she might have been there again, we noticed a broken lock in the window of our basement. So after putting 2 and 2 together and realizing that my babysitter had been sneaking into our house through our basement window, and also noticing that things have been going missing, we call the police and report her because it was just so obviously her. She did not do a good job at all at covering her tracks. When the police look her up, they say she has no criminal record and that she's not enlisted in any housing. So she was homeless. So my parents go ahead and fix the lock on our basement window. I'm guessing once she found out that she couldn't get in anymore, she stopped trying. So afterwards, my parents stopped working as much and I got a friend to start dropping me off at home after my tutoring classes. Once I would get home, I would do all the cleaning just to help my parents out, so then they could keep working their long hours so I could go to college. My parents were kind of iffy about leaving me at home by myself. Child, I could fight. So everything was good and we never saw her again. Let me tell y'all how I ruined my uncle's engagement proposal while I take off my makeup. So basically, my uncle threw a little get-together, invited my family, obviously. At that get-together, he was planning on proposing to his soon-to-be fiancé. He brought out a really big cake, and that cake had whipped cream on it. Okay, best believe I dived in. Listen, I'm not a big fan of icing, but I might do a backflip for some whipped cream. Everyone got a slice of cake, and it was gone. The plate was completely empty. My uncle starts panicking and looking around. Everyone starts eyeing him because he's acting really weird. Mind you, nobody knew that he was going to propose to his girlfriend. Me and my family end up having to leave early because of my little sister's ballet ceremony. Eventually, my dad gets a call from my uncle basically saying that he was planning the proposal and the ring is nowhere to be found. Now, where did he put the ring, you may ask? Well, it was in the center of the cake, and it was supposed to be a big reveal once everybody took their piece. My parents come to me and asked me if I've seen it anywhere. I told them that I had no idea. And all of a sudden, ooh, I gotta take a shit. When I got to the bathroom, I was blowing up the toilet, okay? I felt something real rough pop out my booty hole. I turn around to look, cause it hurt, and I see a ring in the toilet bowl floating amidst my diarrhea. So like I said, after I ate the cake at the engagement party for my uncle's proposal, I got really bad diarrhea, and when I go to the bathroom, I shit out the ring. So a lot was going through my mind at this moment. I didn't know if I was supposed to grab it? Do I reach into my diarrhea and take it out? Do I rinse it and then give it back? Or do I just flush and act like I didn't see shit? Who would really want a ring that was sitting in somebody's diarrhea? Even if I rinsed it, even if I washed it with soap, it still had the diarrhea particles on it. There's all different types of creases in rings. So best believe I flushed that shit. Act like that whole thing did not just happen. Well, things took a turn for the worse once my uncle said that he paid $10,000 for that ring. I felt extremely guilty. I'd rather feel guilty than admit to anybody what happened. Until this day, nobody in my family knows what happened to that ring. I will live with this secret until the day that I die. Here's another toxic ex-best friend story time. So me and this girl became friends through a play that we were doing in school. Plays in my school were always mad funny, so everybody on set was really cool. We hit it off like this. She offered to drive me home after the rehearsals and the practices. We would always go to get coffee after our practices, but after doing that for a while, we just started hanging out after school. Well, eventually we got close and I invited her to this slumber party that I was having. Should've never done that. And here's why. I also invited my boyfriend of 5 months and my other close friends. We were all having a really good time, you know, busting it down, throwing it back, talking shit, playing games, whatever. We specifically talked a lot of shit about her ex-best friend. We, as in everybody at the slumber party. Emphasis on we. Keep that in mind. At this point, it was getting really late. It was like 2 a.m. I ended up dozing off and falling asleep. Now, I woke up to some very slight clapping. And so I turn around and I see my best friend doing the spread eagle on my boyfriend. Like for part 2. Part 2 of my toxic ex-best friend story time. I wake up because I hear some clapping and I turn around. I see my best friend doing the spread eagle on my boyfriend. Busted wide open. No remorse. None. So my best friend at the time sees me looking at them, giving me a very much, oh, you wish that was you, huh? Look. You're probably wondering what was going through my mind at that moment. Well, murder wasn't on my mind, surprisingly. I had another plan. So once my boyfriend notices that I'm awake, he tries to push her off of him as if he wasn't just doing what he was doing and tries to apologize. Saying things like, oh, I didn't know what I was doing. You were asleep. I just couldn't help myself. You know, just a bunch of bullshit. And so I'm like, y'all putting on a show with the amazing actress that I am? Not gonna let me join? You know I always get the lead roles in the plays. Come on. Mind you, I was basically completely over my boyfriend at this point. I already started losing interest in him. This basically just did it for me. So I'm like, hello, lights, camera, action, let's get it going. And so I start to go down on him. Then I just take a big old bite right from his. Part 3 of my toxic ex-best friend story time. Well, like I said, I wake up from my own slumber party and see my best friend and my boyfriend getting it in at like 3 a.m. in the morning. I asked to join and then I took a chomp out of my boyfriend's badonkodon. And not only did I do that, but right after I took that big ass bite, I turned to my best friend, bit her titty. Now we were all equal because now they're feeling the pain that I'm feeling. So now my boyfriend's mad. My best friend is crying. And I can't lie, I loved to see it. The tears rolling down her face was just, there's something about it. Just made me want to. Anywho, obviously I kicked them out of my house. I need to realize that I had bought my boyfriend a gift. It was over like $500 and I wanted that shit back. So I pulled up to his house and his mom answered the door. So I'm like, how you doing, Miss Judge Lynn Toller? I am here to get my money from this man. He did end up giving me back the gift. Getting a lot of texts from my best friend at the time. She was just trying to apologize, trying to make it seem like she really felt bad or something. After I completely ignored her and left her on red, she went ahead and posted a video of her on top of my boyfriend. You can see me sleeping next to them in the video. Part 4 of my toxic ex-best friend story time. So like I said, I kicked my boyfriend out and my best friend out after I saw them sleeping together at my slumber party. One day I started getting flooded with texts and then I get sent a video that my best friend posted of her on top of my boyfriend and you can see me sleeping in the video right next to them. Obviously I was 1, embarrassed, and 2, thinking of an escape plan for when I have to escape from jail. I'm just kidding. I wanted to be petty, but I decided to take the smarter route instead. I didn't even bother texting her or saying anything to her at all. I screenshotted all the videos that she was posting from her account. Not to mention she captioned it, couldn't even keep your man. Sis, didn't even want him. Anywho, she also posted a video of a voice recording of us all talking shit about her ex-best friend. All of us were talking shit, but she said in the caption that it was just me. Well, my other close friends were there and they vouched for me that it wasn't just me. So she just looked dumb. Then I just ended up telling the school what happened. I brought other people who saw what happened for proof, because having the pictures on my phone would get me in trouble. And so she ended up getting expelled and got charged for having and spreading child porn. Y'all please! I will never hang out with a white boy again. This white boy came to pick me up because, you know, I was trying to get that little diddly dick. And as soon as we get into the car, he's smiling at first and then he starts looking at me weird. I'm just like, okay, whatever. So we drive to his house. His mom is... I'm not gonna be able to get through this. His mom is there and she looks fucking terrified when she looks at me. I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm probably the first bad bitch that he brought to this house. I'm sorry. So we go into his room. You know, we're just chilling, watching a movie, whatever. And then his mom pulls him out of the room. When he comes back, he asks me, do you need to go to the hospital? I'm like, no. Why the fuck would I need to go to the hospital? He looks at me. He's like, oh, me and my mom noticed that your scalp is peeling off. It was my fucking lace. My fucking lace friend. I'm like, what? And I run into the bathroom and I'm looking in the mirror. I look in the mirror and I see a whole part of my lace is lifted up. Once I told him it was my hair, he got mad and called me a catfish. He made me Uber myself home.